We're going over to our studios in Abuja, where Ike Osuagwu joins us. He's a member of the PDP and also a legal practitioner. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Well, the comments coming from the PDP about their growls with the planned use of card readers for the election, many will say that all of this had been spoken of by the chairman of the commission in several meetings with political parties, and they don't understand why this stance is making the rounds perhaps stronger these few days. And besides, they also say, why do they wait until the matters in court are even decided before they continue making their perspective known? Or is it that if the courts rule otherwise, they will do otherwise?
Thank you for the issue of the PVC and also the card reader. I want to maintain that if you check very well the Electoral Act, there is no provision for this electronic device, unless there is another Electoral Act that Professor Jega is using. As far as I know, I've gone through the Act. There are no specific provisions for the use of the electronic card reader. And in fact, Section 50 sub 2 of the Electoral Act prohibits the use of electronic voting machine. So I believe, and I want to maintain, that this device is not provided for under the Act, unless Jega has something different to tell us. And I think I quite agree with the PDP on this aspect, that it is not provided for under the Electoral Act. That is my take on it.
If you say prohibits the use of electronic machine, was it clearly stated there, or it says electronic voting? And this, the chairman says, look, this has nothing to do with electronic voting, because you're going to thumbprint your ballot paper and then manually drop the ballot paper in the ballot box. Electronic voting, they say.
When you talk about voting is, as far as I'm concerned, although this matter is in court, is a process. If you read the Electoral Act, I think Section 49, 1 and 2, talks about the process for voting, and 49.1 says that the person who goes to his constituency presents his voter's card to the presiding officer. The presiding officer, upon being satisfied that the person's name is on the voter's register, shall issue him a ballot paper.
We're talking about your party's growls with the use of the card readers. Well, already many are commenting that first and foremost, they thought that initially your party was very interested in ensuring free, fair and credible elections. And so if you insist on not using the card readers, first of all, do you not care about all the money that has gone into all of this at the end of the day if you still insist on no usage of card readers?
Well, the issue is not the amount of money that has been expended on the process. I have been maintaining that the use of electronic card reader is not specifically provided under the Electoral Act. Even the same INEC, some couple of months back, if I can recall very well, I think last year, one of their officers was interviewed on the issue of e-voting, and he said that they will only use e-voting, electronic card readers, if the Electoral Act permits. So have they amended the Electoral Act? Has it permitted Jega to use the card reader? Those are the issues, not the amount of money you expend.
Just let me come in here quickly, because we have to get something straight here. Are you saying that the card reader amounts to, the usage of the card reader amounts to electronic voting?
Of course, because voting is a process. If you look at Section 49, 1 and 2 of the Electoral Act, it encapsulates what I'm talking about. Because once you go to the polling unit, it says you go to the polling unit, you present your voter's card to the presiding officer, and subsection 2 says the presiding officer, upon being satisfied that your name is on the voter's register, will issue a ballot paper and then mark you as having voted on the voter's register, even before you proceed to go and vote. Because the 49(1) and 2 says you'll be marked. That 49(1) and 2 deals with accreditation. But if you look at it very well, it also deals with voting. Because it says you have been marked as having voted. Whether you proceed, if you proceed to the ballot box and decide not to vote, that is your business. The accreditation process is also the voting process. And when it comes to issues of election, there must be specific laws guiding elections. You cannot just assume that you can import certain provisions or devices when there is no specific provisions under the Act.
Oh, Mr. Osuagwu, if we may intervene here, I mean, I think that people get that point. You say that voting is a process. It's a rather lengthy process. Some of our viewers are watching and they say that they agree with you that voting is a process, but it's a very lengthy process. It's not just the one that starts on that day. It starts from the process of registration, the fact that your data is even with INEC, and perhaps we should even scrap all of this and do it manually, you know, so that way we know that there is no electronic anything involved at any point in time in that process of registration and even at the point when you finally vote.
Well, the Electoral Act, like I said, if there is no provision for a particular, no provision backing INEC in doing a particular act, in the Electoral Act, then INEC cannot resort to that procedure.
Well, that's what we're saying. I mean, some of them are agreeing with you and saying that we should stretch it that far, that would also come, since voting is a process, the fact that your data is even stored somewhere on an electronic device, that is in itself is part of the process, and also, you know, translates into electronic voting as well.
Yes, the Electoral Act has already said it. I never drafted the act. The Parliament drafted it. Maybe we should consult them why they inserted that section. If you read section 50 sub 2, it says the use of electronic voting machine has been temporarily prohibited. So if it says that the temporary prohibited,
I'm happy you just reminded us that,
not to follow the Electoral Act.
Well, good thing. Well, we're also speaking to you in the capacity of someone who is a legal mind. We have to be very careful when we define things. When you say voting and a process, is not the same. The actual word voting there is also different from when we're talking about processes that lead to voting. So could you expatiate more when you talk about, well, accreditation as actual voting as stated in the Electoral Act?
Yes, because they have said that the card reader is only meant to do what we call accreditation or integrity process.
And that's not voting, is it?
That is what the INEC have been saying, that the card reader is meant to authenticate whether you register, your name is under the voter's register. But the only provision that provides for accreditation is under the Electoral Act, 49(1)(2). And there is no provision for the card reader. And if you read section 20 of the Act, it says there must be publication of the voter's register 30 days before the general election. So are you going to publish or display card reader